Invited. This is a peaceful event in support of our international and diverse students who are attending Snow College who are affected by the immigration ban. So please join us tonight at 8 o'clock in the College Plaza. Also, February is Black History Month, and there will be several events next week in honor of Black History Month, including a speaker on Monday evening at 6 p.m. in the GSC Bluebell Room. So please come to that. Also, the International Cinema will be featuring the movie The Race on Tuesday and Wednesday in the Library Auditorium. Also, all next week, Monday through Friday, the Black History Icons photo display will be on display at the library. So please don't forget to stop in and see that. Now, if you wouldn't mind taking out your cell phones and please silence them. Next week, we'll be honored to hear from Utah's Poet Laureate, Lance Larson, who will be talking to us about coaxing the muse, thoughts on the creative process. Okay, aside from Black History Month, what else is coming up next week? Valentine's Day. Exactly. So in honor of Valentine's Day, we have a special musical number to start off with. And we are going to bring out Tom Young and Friends, who will perform for us All of You by Cole Porter. Tom and his friends are students here at Snow College as part of the Horn School of Music. So please give a warm welcome to Tom Young and Friends.
I love the look of you, the lure of you, the sweet of you, and the pure of you. The eyes, the arms, the mouth of you, east, west, north, and the south of you. I'd love to gain complete control of you and handle even the heart and soul of you. So love at least a small percent of me do, for I love all of you. Nelson Campbell. Sebastian on the bass. I love the looks of you, the lure of you. I'd love to make a tour of you. The eyes, the arms, the mouth of you. East, west, north, and the south of you. I'd love to gain complete control of you and handle even the heart and soul of you. So love at least a small percent of me do, for I love all. Thank you very much. It's Nelson Campbell on trombone, Devin Mitchell on the drums, Sebastian on the bass. My name is Tom Young. Thank you.
Weren't they great? Give them another hand. Thanks, guys. Okay, today we are so honored to welcome Judy Gellis, multimedia artist, photographer, and filmmaker. Judy has an MFA in photography from Rhode Island School of Design and a master's in counseling from University of Miami. Her work is in public collections at the Philadelphia Museum of Art, Los Angeles County Museum of Art, and Rio de Janeiro Museum of Art. She has had residencies at the MacDowell Colony, the Visual Studies Workshop, and the Atlantic Center for the Arts. She exhibits widely and is published in Ms. Magazine, Vision Magazine, Beijing, Camerawork, New Art Examiner, and Artweek. Her work has received numerous awards, including Critical Mass Top 50 Photographers and a Curator's Choice Award. Judy has taught at Boston College, Tufts University, and the University of the Arts in Philadelphia. Her lecture today focuses on a project she's been working on for 9 years, entitled The Fourth Grade Project, which is currently on display at the Granary Art Center here in Ephraim. Please join me in giving a warm Snow College welcome to Judy Gellis.
It's on. Okay. Thank you for inviting me here. I'm going to talk to you about a project I've been working on for 9 years. It's all started, I was a member of my social justice committee in my local synagogue, and we were very concerned about the violence issue in Philadelphia, and we wanted to do something. So we decided as a group to adopt a school, and I was assigned to the 4th grade. And I spent a whole year helping the students with their reading, and halfway through, I realized the books they were reading had absolutely nothing to do with their lives. So I decided to mix it up and ask them 3 questions. Who do you live with? What do you wish for? And what do you worry about? And by the end of the year, they were actually able to read their stories back to me, and their reading skills improved. And since I do photography, I wanted to take a photograph of the kids and put it up in their classroom. The principal got wind of this and said, you can't photograph in public schools, privacy issues. And I said, I just want to put it up in the classroom. Nope, you can't do it. But she did make a joke, and she said, you can photograph their backs, not their fronts. As soon as she said, you can photograph their backs, I'm an artist. A light bulb went off in my head, and I immediately saw the stories going around them, and that's actually how the project began. I just was thinking about that this year, realizing if she hadn't said those 3 words, probably wouldn't have had a project. So you never know what's going to happen. So I'm going to start off with just showing you, these were the kids in the inner city school in Philadelphia where I was volunteering, and these were their stories. I don't know if they can turn the light, well, whatever. Can you see this okay? Yeah? I worry about people in my family getting shot. My cousin got shot and died. I don't think anybody should carry a gun, even the cops, then nobody would get shot. My whole family was born in Mexico. I came to the United States when I was 3. I lived with my mom, my dad, my 3 brothers, my godsister, and my niece. I worry that my parents might get deported to Mexico. Then I would be all alone. And one more from this school. I live with my mom and 2 sisters and my mom's friend. My dad is in jail in Mississippi. Me and my mom and my 2 sisters and my uncle and grandma are driving to Mississippi next month in a big van to visit my dad. I can't wait to go. So these were the stories that I was hearing at this inner city school, and I thought, you know, I need to try this at another school, a different kind of school. It took me 2 years, but I actually got into a Quaker school, which was about a 10-minute drive from the school that I was volunteering at. And I asked the same questions, and this is what I got. I live with my mom and 2 sisters and my mom's friend. My dad is in jail in Mississippi. Me and my mom and my 2 sisters, oh, sorry, reading the wrong story. Okay. My mom was born in Uruguay. Her parents moved to the United States to make more money. I'm an only child, but soon we will be adopting a baby girl from China. I'm excited to meet her. I wish the whole world would be one large empire so there would be no more war. I worry about world hunger and global warming. My life is good. I feel lucky. So you couldn't make this up, the difference between the private Quaker school and the inner city school, and they're not that far from one another. But you probably understand this goes on all over our country. And the inner city kids were worried about getting shot, and the private school kids were worried about world hunger and world peace. So after I did this school, I knew I had a project, and at that point in time, my husband was actually going to be traveling to China. And I was able to get into a school for migrant children in China. And migrants in China are probably different than here. Migrants in China are people that travel from the country to the city for work. But when they travel from the country to the city, they have something in China called home rule. And home rule means if you move out of where you were born, you get no social services and no free education. So most of the migrants in China, and most people don't know this, do not have school. They don't go to school. It's probably one of China's biggest social problems, and you'll eventually, maybe you'll hear about it. So when I did get to China, the teacher saw me photographing from the back, and he came running out, and he said, no, 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 you can't photograph from the back in China. It's disrespectful. You have to photograph from the front. So right away, I knew there were going to be differences here. So I did photograph from the front, but I had an interpreter, and he let me photograph from the back. And here's one of their stories. I live with my mother and father. My older sister lives with my aunt in my hometown. And you understand, hometown is where they were born. I wish my whole family could be together. I worry about doing something wrong and upsetting my parents. I worry about hurting someone, and my parents will have to pay for medical treatment. So it's kind of interesting. All I had to do was ask those 3 simple questions, and you get to learn about a whole culture just from asking those 3 questions. Most of the people in China aren't even aware of the issues in the migrant community because it's hushed up. But I was told just from talking with the kids. Next, I actually got a chance to go to India. And in India, there were no rules there. I could have photographed from the front or the back, whatever I wanted. They'd never heard of privacy rules. So every country was a little bit different. And here is a child in India. I live with my mother, older brother, and grandmother. My father is an electrician and works in Qatar. He comes home once a year. I wish my father were home more. I miss him. I'm scared of snakes. If a snake bites you, you could die. I speak 5 languages. When I grow up, I want to be a cricket player. So just again, those 3 questions, I did learn that most of the children in India live in joint families because a lot of the fathers are working in Arab countries far away to make more money, and they don't get home very often. And again, just asking these simple questions, you learn all about this culture. And almost every kid in the class spoke a minimum of 4 languages. So this is a private school in LA. I live with my mother and brother and cousin. Nope. Sorry, wrong one. My parents are divorced. I live with my mom Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and with my dad on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I wish everybody would stop fighting. I worry that I'm always forgetting something. Sometimes I leave it at my father's house and then I don't have it. So I'll go back to this image in a minute, but I'm just going to show you the next place I went was St. Lucia. And when I got to St. Lucia, this is what they said.
Welcome, Mrs. Judy. We welcome you with open arms. Welcome, welcome, Mrs. Judy. Welcome to our school. We're so fortunate to have been chosen by you. We know that your time here will be enjoyable too. A different culture to taste, a pristine ambience to savor, where absolutely pure fun awaits. A melting pot of true St. Lucian flavor. Welcome, welcome, Mrs. Judy.
So it looked like they had been practicing for at least a couple of weeks before I came, so I was pleasantly surprised when I saw that. So what happens when I go to these schools is I usually have to look for a background where I can put the words around, and it's usually a wall or something. But you see in St. Lucia, it's very hot, and they don't have windows, and they just have these holes in the wall. And so I had to come up with an idea for a background, and I saw a chalkboard in the classroom, so we brought out the chalkboard. And, but you'll see what happened next. I actually broke my ankle when I was in St. Lucia. So I had to go to the emergency room in St. Lucia, but I kept going, and this is me photographing from the back in St. Lucia. And you can see when it's cropped out, this is what the final image looks like. And this was one of the girls. I live with my mother and brother and cousin. My brother and I have different fathers. I wish for a 90+ average on the test. Last year I got an 89.22. I worry about getting a good job. I want to be a 4th grade teacher. So in St. Lucia, everybody is black, and they're all single mothers because it's a matriarchal society, and they don't get married. They're focused on education. And on the last day when I do this project, I show the project to the kids. And remember the last boy I told you where he talked about his parents getting divorced. Well, when I show the project to the kids, they all get to ask questions. And their first question was, what is a divorce? They didn't know what a divorce was because their parents don't get married. So again, 3 simple questions. You learn a lot about a culture. I'm going to go back to St. Lucia again with the next thing. This is a school in LA, and it's an all-Latino school. My parents were born in Mexico. They speak only Spanish. I'm good at drawing. I want to be an architect. That's my wish. I want to design tall buildings. I like my mohawk haircut. I like being different. So when I showed this to the kids in St. Lucia, all the kids were laughing when they saw the mohawk haircut. And then all of a sudden I read them the story, and they all quieted down because they saw that this boy was embracing difference, and that was really important. And they realized his message was really important. So this is in South Korea, and me photographing from the back. And then one of the things that I always do is show the kids the photograph, and they all get to see it and make sure that they approve it. And a lot of these places, kids don't have cameras, and they've never seen the digital cameras, so they're very excited to be part of the process. And here's what the final image looked like. I'm an only child. My father owns a golf shop, and my mother stays home. After school, I study English, science, math, and morality. I go to bed at 11:30 p.m. My wish is to go to an Ivy League Korean university. I worry about my grades. My parents want me to do well. In South Korea, and I don't know if anyone's here from South Korea, but they all stay up late, and they're all studying close to midnight. These are 9-year-old kids. So the pressure is unbelievable to be number one. Everybody wants to be number one. This is Italy. And you can see, again, I have to look for a background for the text, and I saw this little gray rectangle, and I thought, okay, that's going to be good. I'm going to be able to Photoshop the rest of it in, and this is what the final image looked like. My father is a handyman, and my mother works in accounting. My wish is to have another sister. I like big families. I worry about my grades. I want to please my parents. Most of the kids in this little Italian town were pretty content. Okay, so you wonder how I get to these schools. I actually gave a TED Talk 2 years ago, and right after the TED Talk became live, a teacher in South Africa asked me to come to her school in South Africa. So I was kind of amazed, but I did. This was an apartheid school 10 years ago, and now it's mixed with white, black, Indian, and colored in that order. So, and I think colored, I'm not sure it means black and white married together, which was illegal 10 years ago. And so that's why it's at the bottom of the barrel. So Obama would be considered colored in South Africa, not black. This is what a girl in South Africa said. I speak Zulu and English. My father is a policeman and carries a gun. Our house has a wall around it with electrical wire. My wish is that everybody stop fighting with each other at home, at school, and in the world. I am scared that one day I will be murdered. And again, just asking those questions, almost everybody in South Africa or in Durban. This was Durban, South Africa. Everybody's house has a wall around it with electrical wire. That's just the norm, everybody. So it's amazing what you learn when you talk to 9-year-olds. Most of the kids, when I'm there for a week, at the end of the week, have some kind of thank you, and they've embraced the project. And this is what these kids did as their thank you.
What do we say? Thank you! What do we say? Thank you! What do we say? Thank you! There's a clap. Another one. Just like that. E-O-E-O.
So that's the class in Durban, South Africa. Other things. A 4th grader in Arkansas went up to her teacher and said she wanted to learn about photography, and she went on the web and she found my project, and she showed it to her teacher, and this is a 9-year-old, and said, could we bring this person to our class? And so the teacher called me, and I said, well, I can't just go everywhere. I need funds. Maybe you can get a grant. So the teacher actually got a grant, and a year later, I went to Arkansas. And this is the girl. She's 9 years old. She was I think she was taller than I was, yes. Kind of amazing. She's the one who found me on the web. But for me, I think I'm living in a bubble in Philadelphia. This is what I found in Arkansas. This was a sign in the middle of the town, Harrison, Arkansas. And this was the barbershop, okay? I am not used to seeing guns in a barbershop. I actually don't know what it's like here, so I have no idea. This is the barber with the Confederate flag. And this is the sign in the barbershop. So I think wherever we live in a bubble, you know, and one of the things that's happened to me with this project that I've learned that there's a lot of different things out there, and lots of different groups have different feelings about everything, even in our own country, that's for sure. Next, I got a chance to go to Nicaragua. And this was a very rural school on a coffee plantation in Nicaragua. And this was the typical house in Nicaragua. And this is one of the kids in Nicaragua. My walk to school is dangerous. I keep my pencil and notebook in my backpack. Sometimes kids steal my pencils. I live in a wood house. My wish is to live in a stone house. I worry that my father will leave and never come back. This is a Native American school in the state of Washington. And one of the things that was very disheartening, this was the reading level of the kids in the school. You can see down below that almost everybody in the school was reading below level. So pretty sad about the state of the Native American schools. And here is one of the kids from the school. Dad and Mom speak Indian and English. We travel to powwows and dance and sing and drum. We win contests and get money. My wish is for my four-wheeler to get fixed so I can catch horses. I'm saving my powwow money. I worry about getting bit by a rattlesnake. So the school is 60% Native and 40% Hispanic. And this was one of the Hispanic kids. My mom stays home, and I don't know what my father does. The school bus picks me up at 6:20 a.m. I eat breakfast at school. I wish for a tablet so I can play games. I am afraid of the night. I worry about Indians stealing our gas for the car. So one of the things that I became aware of very instantly was the rift between the Hispanics and the Natives, And right there with the 9-year-olds, they're kind of replicating what they hear from their parents. So again, if you want to learn about a culture, talk to 9-year-olds. So most of the kids end up doing some kind of thank you, and this was a thank you from one of the schools I went to, a Jewish day school. And she wrote, "I think that you will make a big difference. I really liked how you were planning to go all over the world. I learned how kids look. It's what is inside that counts." So I think this girl got it. This is exactly what I'm trying to do with the project. And hopefully in March, I'm going to be going to a school in Israel. So the project is ongoing, but kind of coming to an end. So that's the end of the lecture, and if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Oh, there's a question over here. I think we're going to have to use the microphone.
Usually I don't need this.
Oh, well, okay.
Would you add any other questions? Have you thought of any other candidate questions?
Okay, he wanted to know about adding any questions. So I really talk more than 3 questions, okay? I end up interviewing each child for about 20 minutes. And we start off with, what is your name and what is your birthday? Because you actually can't go into an interview and sit down and ask somebody, what do you wish for, what do you worry about, because they won't answer you. So interview is really important, and you have to have them feel relaxed and feel comfortable and just be talking about what was going on in their lives. And then near the end, I ask those questions. And that's when they feel comfortable enough to answer. So we talk about lots of things.
Are there any other questions that you would?
Oh, what else do we talk about in the interview?
I
I mean, so it's kind of flowing as we go because every kid is different. So if some kid comes in and says their parent is sick, well, then we go and talk about, you know, what's wrong with their parents and can you get medical treatment and that kind of thing. Or it just really depends on what they go. We start off with who do you live with? And sometimes who do you live with can take up a whole page, and it gets so complicated, very complicated. We might talk about, do you go to church or not? And then I found out, I think in Arkansas, every single person was a Christian. There wasn't any other religion in that school. And they talked a lot about religion. And so it really depends where I am and how they answer. And it starts off with who do you live with? And they might be talking about their uncle, and they're really worried about their uncle. Their uncle might be in jail. And so then we go from there. But no matter where we go, I always make sure that I ask the wish and the worry question. And it really is kind of flowing depending on what culture I'm in. But I do go with an open slate, so I don't have any preconceived ideas when I go. Okay, part of the problem is I have a hearing issue, so if you don't want to speak in the microphone, you can talk to him and then he can give me the question.
What is, like, when you go to new places and you learn all this stuff, does it help broaden your understanding of, like, people as a general, like, whole, like, just people?
Does it help me to understand the culture? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, like humans in general, not necessarily
Okay.
just that
I one of the things I actually don't really research it before I go. I know it sounds weird, but I do really go with an open slate. And just from talking with the kids for about 20 minutes, it is amazing how much you learn. And some people ask why I chose 4th grade. 4th grade is right on the cusp of puberty. And so they're really smart, they know what's going on, but they don't censor yet. And I have actually tried it with 5th graders, and they're already censoring. So with 4th grade, they're pretty honest. and they kind of reveal what's going on in their culture and in their family situation, and you get a hint. If something comes up that they talk about and I don't understand it, I might go back to the teachers and say, explain it. And that was in the Native American school, where there were Hispanics that were talking about kind of racist remarks about, and they said Indians or natives. But I did have to talk to the teachers about what was going on, and that was pretty prevalent at that school. And so those kinds of things will come up, and then I'll ask more about it. So, but it's hard for me to know until I talk with the kids, because every school is a little bit different, as you can see, a little bit different. Who would have thought in South Korea that the kids were staying up till midnight studying every night? I mean, I had no idea. Probably if I researched it, I might have found out, but it was interesting to hear it from the kids. Oh, right there.
Where did you stay when you went on these international trips to other countries, and did that have any effect on your cultural view after staying there?
Where did I stay? It was mostly hotels, because I didn't know people. On the coffee, it actually depends. I mean, in Arkansas, they had raised money and they put me up in a local hotel. In Nicaragua, at the coffee plantation, I stayed in the home of the person who runs the coffee plantation. It's a little bit different. When I go to Israel, somebody's offered me to stay at their house. So, but a lot of times it's just hotels that are nearby. Definitely, because I don't want to travel too far. So, oh, you have a question. Yeah.
When you go to Israel, are you also looking forward to go to Palestine or only Israel?
Okay, I have tried to get a Palestinian school, and I just don't have the contacts. I haven't been able to. I know there are schools in Israel that have Palestinians and Israelis together, but I haven't made the contacts. So I have somebody that's offered me a school, and in this school are French and Ethiopian Jews, and they're from 4 different countries, Russian Jews. So I figured the mix is just so amazing already that it's a very typical Israeli school with all kinds of immigrants in the school. So I think that's probably going to show us a lot. And I always have to be careful about my safety too. So if I don't get invited to a school, then I can't go, you know. So definitely the school has to embrace the project, and that's part of it. Doing the TED Talk really helped because it made the project very legitimate now, and it's pretty easy to get invited to a school. Oh,
So, what degrees do you have, and like how does it affect your photography career, and like kind of how did you start?
How did this affect my photography career?
Yeah, do you have a psychology degree?
Okay, I have a degree in counseling.
Okay.
And my first job was a 4th grade teacher. Only 1 year, because I thought, I can't do this. There are too many kids in this classroom. Then I went into counseling. I got a master's in counseling. And that lasted about 10 years, but I have been doing art for about 30 years. But I think that this project has kind of come full circle because I was a 4th grade teacher for a short time. And I have a degree in counseling, and that really helps with the interviews because I'm very comfortable interviewing the kids. And the interview is a really important part of the project. And you have to be able to embrace each child and listen carefully. And the counseling really helps on that. So I do other kinds of art also. I've done some sculpture, and I've actually done a documentary film. But this project has been a long one and kind of interesting because I don't think anyone else has ever done it. There's a question right back there.
So you mentioned earlier that you had to ask a couple questions before you could get into the 3 questions that you mentioned earlier. How much time did it usually
Okay,
take?
I'm having trouble hearing.
Oh yeah, sorry.
It's just me, not you.
Yeah.
But if you could talk close into the mic.
Yeah. How much time did it usually take to win over the trust of the kids for them to open up to you?
Okay, well, you know that every kid is different. And you will have shy kids and you will have outgoing kids. I will have shy kids. I mean, there was a girl in the South African school, and she was from China. Actually, there was one Chinese kid, and she was so shy that she needed another Chinese kid in the room with her to be able to talk to me, because she was afraid to talk to me. That's very unusual, okay? But I run from that gamut to somebody coming in and just started bubbling and can't wait to talk and telling me about their whole family. So it's totally individual, depending on how many introverts and how many extroverts. I do bring them a little gift, and the word gets out that I have a little gift for them. So, I mean, halfway through the week, they can't wait to come in and talk to me because they've seen the gifts that the other kids have got. But they actually love it, because what teacher can take that time to sit and listen to the kids? Not many. In India, okay, I can tell you some interesting things. In India, the class had 50 children in the classrooms. All the classrooms had 50 children. And it was pretty interesting. The teacher left for about 45 minutes to talk with me, and left the kids in the classroom by themselves. And when she came back, the kids were all in the classroom, and they were doing their work. Does this happen in the United States? Never, right? Never. I'm amazed. In Nicaragua, the teacher left the kids because she had to go look for some equipment for me, and she left them for about a half an hour. And they were in the classroom doing some things on their own. I'm just amazed. If that happened in the US, it just doesn't happen. So in these schools, they can't afford to have aides. They don't have aides, and the kids the kids are much more independent than a lot of, they're treated much more independently than the kids in the US schools here. It's very different. And they're able to be in the room, in the classroom by themselves for like a half an hour without a teacher. And they weren't misbehaving. It was kind of amazing. Oh, and I know I have to watch the time. Do you get out at 1:20? I can tell you another story about India, which is really interesting. So when I was at the school in India, the teacher told the kids that they could go off and get a drink. It was kind of a campus school, and the kids went and they evidently drink coffee at a young age, and so they went to get coffee. And one of the kids bumped into another kid with a coffee cup, and the coffee spilled onto the student's dress and burnt her leg a little bit because she didn't come to school the next day. And I noticed there was a spot on her dress. And so I said to the teacher, what is the parents going to say? Because you know if that happened here, lawsuit, right? Immediately. The teacher said, no, it just was an accident. The parent's going to say it was just an accident. Nothing happened. Nobody's going to blame anybody. And it was an accident. But can you imagine if that happened here? Lawsuit immediately. So a whole different way of looking at kids and treating kids in other schools that are different than how we treat kids here in the US. I'm not saying one is better than the other, I'm just saying it's very different. And are there any other questions? If not, I think we'll end it that way. It's a good way to end with that story.